finish writing this part down. Is anybody writing this part down still?
Yeah, you never wrote it.
Yes.
I didn't even do it right. It was up there. All I kept thinking about is when I was dropping it. And I was getting close to my house and I was thinking to myself,
Miss Hebert, can you come straight past your next step?
No. You can come, yeah.
Is that a boiled egg? Oh, man, this is
It must be good,
with that seasoned salt, it was so
Someone this morning and yesterday.
some pepper, some paprika. Shut up.
I put some salt.
Anybody still writing?
Yeah, that's good.
You put it up there. Oh, what the fuck? You got gas.
You don't even put anything down with no water, no nothing.
Oh, you had gas for days.
You can't get gas with eggs.
What? I have it all the time. I had eggs Monday and I ain't used my gas until yesterday.
You didn't use your gas to yesterday?
Just edit it out, it'll be alright.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You call me daddy for a night.
Right, moving on. Okay, so copy this part down. It looks like a lot of crazy stuff, but it's honestly, it's not gonna be hard today. This is your parent function information. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'll explain it in just a second once we get it all written down.
I've seen like 100 million times. But exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
What's that at the top?
Where? It says as x approaches 0, y approaches 0, and then as x approaches positive infinity, y approaches positive infinity. You also may see it written as fx. One thing you just have to remember is right now, this parent function is y equals square root of x, which is why I kept all of this as y, because it didn't say f of x equals square root of x, but f of x is the same exact thing as y. So you can see all of this information, but sometimes it could look like f of x instead. So if you're talking about range, the f of x line, f of x is greater than 0. You get what I'm talking about or not? So your parent function is just your standard function. It's just your standard square root function. For this, your domain, it's written funny, but this tells you that your x is just greater than or equal to 0. So domain talks about your x values. And as you can see on your graph, it starts here where your x is 0, and you're never going to have any points on your graph. None of them are ever going to be negative. Do you see that for your x? You go through all of these points, and none of those are going to be less than 0. Every single one of your points is going to be greater than or equal to 0. That's where they get their domain from. Then range refers to your y, so up and down. This is your lowest point on your y for your graph. So every single one of your points is going to be greater than or equal to 0 for your y. Good so far? Okay. For your intercepts, they just want to know where it crosses your x and y axis. So if you look at your x axis, where does it cross? Right here at 0. So x equals 0 is one of your intercepts. For your y, you look at your y axis. Where does it cross on your y? At 0. So that's why x equals 0, y equals 0 for that. Not defined when x is less than 0. So anywhere over here, there's no points. That's not defined. And in behavior, As x approaches 0, that's a point. So at x is 0, what's your y? 0. And as x approaches positive infinity, so if you go in the x direction for positive infinity, what is happening to your y? Your y is going up a little bit every time. It's never going to stop, never going to stop, so it's going to go in the positive infinity direction. We talked about end behavior in the past, so do we see what's going on with our end behavior? Okay. Any questions on how they got those, any of those values? Okay. So they give you the function f of x equals the square root of x plus 4, and they ask you to find the domain and the range. I'm going to calibrate my screen really quick. When they ask you to find the domain of a function, what you have to do is you have to see where your x values, where it's going to be non-negative underneath your radical, okay? So what you're going to do is just like when we were solving the radical inequalities, your first step for domain is to take what is underneath your radical and set it greater than or equal to 0. Why are we doing that? Because you cannot have a negative underneath your radical. So you're seeing every value that it can be, so all of them that are not negative. Good on that. Okay. How do you solve for x? Subtract 4 on each side. You get x is greater than or equal to negative 4. But as you saw on that last slide with the parent function, they write domain a little funny. So how you write it is you put an open brace, you put an x, because we're talking about the x value, and you put a line.
I don't know how to use braces.
Oh, an S and then an S.
Sure, an S and a backwards S. Okay. Then you put the x is greater than or equal to negative 4, and you do another brace.
I might have to put a parentheses.
Honestly, this is how I used to do it. You put that, same thing, whatever, I don't care. Not a big deal. So then what do we do to find our range? You are going to take this value that tells you your x is greater than or equal to negative 4. You're going to take that value and plug it back into your original equation. Our original function is f of x equals the square root of x plus 4. Well, we got our x is negative 4, so you're going to do f of negative 4. Substitute the value of x for negative 4, and you got negative 4 plus 4. When you do that, you're going to simplify and get f of negative 4 equals the square root of 0. What is the square root of 0? 0. So f of negative 4 equals 0. Now you just have to write it in this the notation that they want. So you do your brace. Now we're talking about f of x, which is the same thing as y. You put a line. And your f of x has to be greater than or equal to 0. So f of x has to be greater than or equal to 0. Any questions on that?
How did you get from square root equals?
That's just what you put. Because all whenever you graph this, so type in, go to your y equals, type in square root x plus 4. So if you type in square root x plus 4 and you hit graph, graph looks something like that, right? Yeah, it's a little skinnier, but it looks like that. For your y values, every single one of them is going to be bigger than 0. You're not going to have any that are left. Make sense? So that's why it's greater than or equal to 0. Does that answer your question? Okay. Alright. So for this one, we're going to do the same exact thing.
You gotta keep right out there, trying to don't make it rain.
No. The same concept is applied. For domain, you take what is underneath your radical, in this case it's x plus 6, and you set that greater than or equal to 0. And then you're going to solve for your x. Subtract 6 on both sides and you get x is greater than or equal to negative 6. Then we're just going to put it in the right notation. So x line, x has to be greater than or equal to negative 6. Close your brakes. Plug this value back in to your function. So you have f of x, our x is negative 6, equals the square root of negative 6 plus 6 plus 2. This gives you the square root of 0 plus 2, which is 0 plus 2, which is just 2. Once again, just write it in the notation they want. You have f parentheses f of x, and then line f of x is greater than or equal to 2, and close your brace. That's an ugly brace. It looks like a 23. Any questions on that one? What's up?
I had that negative 2 right there. Minus 2 right there.
What?
That minus 2 right there.
Where? Here? This is an equal sign. Any questions or are you good?
Good.
Okay. Can I move on? Okay. Do you guys want to try this one?
Yes.
Go for it.
I just wanna make it a one. I don't know.
Alright, so let's check ourselves. For our domain, we did x minus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. So your x should be x is greater than or equal to 3. Notation would be x line x is greater than or equal to 3. Close it. So this is our domain. For your range, you plug back in the 3. So you did f of 3 equals the square root of 3 minus 1. That gives you the square root of 0 minus 1, which is 0 minus 1, which is negative 1. So you have brace f of x line f of x is greater than or equal to negative 1, close brace. How do we do?
Good.
Good.
Fabulous. Easy so far, right?
Yeah.
Usually, if you're writing it in f of x, like if this part says f of x, you want to write f of x in the problem. If it says y, then it's fine to write y.
I didn't put the parentheses around it. I mean, would that be considered wrong?
Make sure that you write it in the right notation. What's up?
Will that always be, greater than?
No, it will not. When will it not? If you had a negative in front of that square root, it's going to take and make it go like that, right? Then it's going to be less than or equal to. That's the only time that it's not going to be. Yes. Great question. Any other questions? Are you good?
Good.
Okay. So let's write this down. Okay? It's a lot of stuff, but it's not difficult. This is your general formula for radical equations. And this just gives you, it's kind of like a key. It tells you what's going on whenever it's happening. Like what is happening to your graph whenever these things changes. So if your h is positive, it's going to move to the right. If your h is negative, it's moving to, or, oh, no, hold on. This should say left. There we go. So if your h is positive, it's going to move to the right. If your h is negative, it's going to move to the left. If your k is positive, it goes up. If your k is negative, it goes down. Then your a is the number at the front of your radical. So if it's less than 0, it's going to reflect across the x-axis. It's greater than 0. Then your graph is sketched vertically. And this should say, I don't know why the symbols aren't up there, but if it's in between 0 and 1, then the graph is compressed vertically. information that is good for you to know. It's not gonna be super crucial with the stuff that we're doing, just because you're gonna have a calculator for this entire test. So you're not gonna have to remember these rules. But if you were put into a situation where you didn't have a calculator, these are the rules that you would use. And I just want you to understand what each of those things mean. Even though we're not gonna use them very much in this, because I'm gonna teach you the easy way out, those are what is telling your graph what to do. The next part, you're gonna need graph paper. Does anybody need any?
Yes.
Anybody still need another minute to write? Alright, so this is the first problem. We're going to graph the function and then we're going to state our domain and our range. We're taking the easy way out. I'm not going to make you learn how to graph it by hand. Go to y equals. You're gonna type in square root, so hit second x squared, x minus 2, bless you. Make sure you hit the right arrow so that we get from underneath the radical, and then press plus 5 so that it looks like this.
Wait, here, that's.
Type this in.
Oh, okay.
FX bar is just hitting y equals. It's the same thing. So go to y equals, do second x squared, that will give you your square root. Then you're going to type in x minus 2. Hit the right arrow so that you get out from underneath your radical. And then put your plus 5. You're then going to hit second graph, and that will give you your table. The first point that you have is 2, 5. Everything above 2, 5 says error. That's because there are no points there. We're going to write down our whole number of points. You've got 2, 5. You have 3, 6. Keep going down. You have 6, 7. Keep going down. You have 11, 8. I think that's enough. I usually don't go with numbers that are over 10, but 11 is pretty close. Good so far? Do you see where you got to your table? Hitting second graph will bring you to your table.
Yeah, I got 2, 4, 7, and
X, 1,
Wait.
2,
2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 11.
Now that you have this, you're going to graph those points on your graph. You have 2, 5, 3, 6, 6, 7, 11, let's go over a little bit, 8. Once you have all of your points, you're then going to connect your dots. So it's going to keep going this way, so you put an arrow. You can look at your graph also and tell what your domain and your range are. Domain refers to your x values. So look at your x. This is your x-axis. So all of your x values have to be greater than or equal to 2. Do you see that? If you look at your x, everything has to be bigger than or equal to this 2. Do you see it? So how are we going to write that? Put your brace. You're going to do x line. X has to be greater than or equal to 2. If you would have actually solved it like we did this past time, you would have done x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 0. Solve for the x and you still would have gotten the same thing. Then you look at your y. Y is your range. So what is the lowest y that you have? Right here. All of your y values are going to be greater than or equal to 5. So you have brace, f of x, which just means y, put a line, f of x is greater than or equal to 5. If you would have worked it out, you would have plugged in 2 for your x, which would have gave you square root 0 plus 5, which is 0 plus 5, which is 5. Do you see how that works? Any questions? There's not a specific amount of points that you need. You're gonna need at least 3 points. That way you can see how the curve is gonna go. But the more points that you have, the more accurate your graph is gonna be. So I try to have at least 4. Bless you. Can I move on? Alright, next one. We're going to go to y equals. We're going to type in -2 square root x plus 3. Get from out of underneath your radical and do -1. If you hit second table, it's going to give you all of your points. Go up until you find error. -3, -1 is your first point. -2, -3, 1, -5, 6, -7. And the next one's 13, -9. I'm not going to graph that one because it's too far past the end.
I have a question, so you're coming over.
Are they really just typing in the function to -2, is that x squared to get square root? Right, or to get it out underneath it and then do the rest. Second graph.
Do you mean the first one is my point?
Once you get your table, go ahead and plot those points. So I have -3, -1, -2, -3, 1, -5, and 6, -7.
It's like a, whoa,
You get 6 from.
oh, I did that.
Oh, I see it, right.
You said what?
So you just write all this stuff on the graph, on the other graph sheet.
Domain refers to x. So you look at your x-axis. This is the lowest x value you will have. All of your x values have to be greater than or equal to that number. So brace x, can't get my words together. Line x has to be greater than or equal to -3. If you would have actually solved it, you would have did x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0. Solve for x, you get x has to be greater than or equal to -3. Range refers to your y. So you look at the up and the down. This is the last point on your graph. For this one, all of your y values have to be less than or equal to -1. So, Kybel, remember that's what you were saying? You asked if it was always going to be greater than or equal to? No, there's a negative for our egg. So now, this one is open brace, your f of x, then line, f of x has to be less than or equal to -1 for this one. You would have actually solved it. You would have plugged -3 in here. you would have gotten 2 times the square root of 0 minus 1. Negative 2 times 0 gives you 0. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Good so far.
Yes.
Okay. Next. Same concepts. Do you guys want to try this one on your own?
Yes.
Try this one on your own.
Do you press, well, after you put the thing in, you press second graph?
That brings you to your table.
And then,
We can choose our own points, right?
Yep, you want to choose the whole number of points.
Whole number.
Yep. Plus,
Is it because it's positive?
huh?
Is it because it's positive and negative?
No, you always pick whole number of points. So negative 4 zeros would be your first point.
Negative.
You have to go up until you find error and then write down the first one.
Oh, so good.
did you go to that's second graph? Okay, second graph here. Yeah, there you go. That's for the other one. How many?